They say how you spend the very first minute of the new year dictates exactly how you'll spend the rest of it. It's sold to us as a fresh start. But I have to ask, what happens if you spend that first minute screaming? Tonight, while the world is distracted by the blinding flash of fireworks, we are looking at what crawls through the noise. New Year's Eve is the ultimate camouflage for horror. The explosions drown out the sound of shattering glass. The cheering crowds mask the predator waiting in your kitchen. I have 3 harrowing accounts to share, and I urge you, listen until the very end, because the final story details a resolution ritual that many of you might have accidentally triggered just by opening your browser tonight. So before we begin, do me a favor. Check your locks. Then scroll down and comment your New Year's resolution. Let's put it on the record, just in case you aren't here to keep it. I've never been much for parties. While my friends were paying triple for watered-down drinks downtown, I was dog-sitting for the Millers. Their house is a modern glass box on the edge of town, where the suburbs dissolve into deep, unlit woods. It was 11 p.m. I was sitting on a plush leather sofa, a cold beer in hand, with Barnaby, their golden retriever, curled up at my feet. It was perfect silence. Then the first firework went off, a dull thud against the atmosphere. Barnaby didn't bark, he just stood up. A low, vibrating growl started in his chest. The hair on his back stood up in a rigid ridge. He wasn't looking at the sky. He was staring through the sliding glass door, straight into the black tree line. I tried to calm him, but he backed away, tail tucked, and hid under the kitchen table. I figured he was just noise sensitive. I didn't want to deal with a nervous dog, so I put on my noise-canceling headphones and booted up a video game. I played for 45 minutes, blissfully deaf to the world. During a loading screen, the TV went black. The glass screen acted like a dark mirror. In the reflection, I saw the room behind me, and I saw the sliding glass door. Standing on the inside of the glass was a man. He wasn't moving toward me. He was standing perfectly still, wearing a gray painter's suit and a mask made of duct tape. He was holding a sledgehammer, resting the head of it gently on the floorboards. My blood turned to ice. I didn't turn around. I watched him in the reflection of the TV. He raised a finger to where his mouth would be. Shh. Then he checked his watch. I slowly slid the headphones off. The house was silent. Then boom, a massive firework went off outside. And at the exact millisecond of the explosion, the man took a step. Thud. I realized with sickening clarity what he was doing. He wasn't just breaking in. He was performing. He waited. Another firework whistled and cracked. Crunch. He stepped on a piece of broken glass. The sound was perfectly masked by the explosion. He was moving toward the couch, timing his footsteps to the chaotic rhythm of the celebration outside. He was 10 feet away. I didn't scream. If I screamed during a quiet moment, I was dead. I waited. I watched the reflection. He raised the hammer. Boom! I rolled off the couch and scrambled into the hallway closet, slamming the door and locking the flimsy handle just as the hammer came down where my head had been. I huddled in the dark, buried in winter coats, sobbing silently. I expected him to tear the door down. Instead, I heard footsteps, heavy, slow. They stopped right outside the closet. "Happy New Year," a voice rasped. It sounded like dry leaves sliding over concrete. Then, silence. I stayed in that closet for 6 hours. I waited until the sun came up. When I finally gathered the courage to push the door open, the house was empty. Nothing was stolen. The TV was still on, but on the coffee table, right where my beer had been, was a Polaroid photo. I picked it up, my hand shaking uncontrollably. The photo was of me, sleeping on the couch, taken from inside the house, about an hour before I woke up and put my headphones on. On the back, written in Sharpie, was a time, 12:01 a.m. He had been in the house the whole time. He didn't want to kill me. He wanted me to know that my safety was an illusion. He wanted me to know that he could take me whenever he wanted, but he chose to let me start the new year, knowing he was watching. Subscribers ask me why I don't go to Times Square. This story is why. It comes from a guy named Alex, who went to an underground warehouse rave called the Silo. Imagine 3,000 bodies packed into a concrete box. The air was thick with sweat and fog. The bass was so loud it was rewriting my heartbeat. I was pushing through the crowd, trying to get to the bar, when I bumped into a girl. She wasn't dancing. She was standing statue still, staring at an old analog watch. She looked up at me, eyes wide and terrified. "Don't look at the ball," she whispered. "Look at the faces." Before I could ask her what she meant, the crowd surged and swallowed her up. Then the music cut out. The DJ screamed over the speakers, "10 seconds to midnight. Are you ready to leave the past behind? The crowd roared. 10, 9. I looked up at the massive digital clock, but the girl's voice was stuck in my head. Look at the faces. 8. I looked down. The person next to me, a guy in a neon shirt, was screaming the countdown, but his eyes had rolled back into his head. 7. I looked around. It wasn't just him. Everyone. 6. 3,000 people were chanting, but their faces were slack, dead, jaw unhinged, like puppets with their strings cut. 5. Hey? I grabbed the guy next to me. He felt cold, rigid, like hard plastic. 4. The sound in the room changed. The roar of the crowd fell away, replaced by a singular, digitized drone. The people weren't screaming anymore. The sound was coming from the speakers, a pre-recorded track of excitement. The people were silent, mouths open, silent. 3. I started to panic. I turned to run toward the exit, but the crowd was a solid wall of meat. 2. I scrambled up onto a speaker stack to get above them. I looked out over the sea of heads. All 3,000 people were frozen, but as I moved, their heads turned. 1. Thousands of white, rolled back eyes tracked me. They weren't looking at the stage. They were looking at the one biological thing left in the room. They were looking at me. Happy New Year. The lights cut to black. In the darkness, I heard a sound I will never forget. It sounded like 3,000 people inhaling at the exact same time. A wet, sharp gasp. Then the lights slammed back on. The bass dropped. Confetti cannons fired. The guy next to me was jumping up and down, high-fiving his friend. The girl in front of me was screaming with joy. The motion had resumed as if the pause never happened. I ran. I didn't stop running until I was inside my apartment with the deadbolt thrown. I tried to convince myself it was the drugs or a hallucination, but the next morning, I looked at the photos I took on my phone. I swiped through the party pics, blurry lights, smiling faces. Then I got to the last one, a selfie I took by accident during the countdown. In the background, the crowd is blurry, but the girl, the one who warned me, is visible over my shoulder. Everyone else is looking at the stage, but she is looking directly at the camera lens. She's holding up a sign that she must have scribbled in the dark. It just says, "Run. You are still buffering. We all want to change. We want to be thinner, richer, happier. But be careful when you ask the universe for an upgrade. Sometimes it answers in code." I spent New Year's Eve alone, working. At 11:45 p.m., I got an email. No subject, no sender, just a link. Click here to execute resolution. I was drunk. I was lonely. I clicked. My screen went black. A single prompt appeared: define the obsolete parameters of the current user. I typed, sarcastically, "I'm sad. I'm broke. I'm lonely. I want to be someone else." The screen flashed green. Parameters accepted. Initiating overwrite sequence. Keep eyes on the screen for retinal mapping. I tried to close the window, but my mouse froze. Then I felt it. Not heat, not pain. I felt emptiness. A memory of my mother popped into my head, a birthday from when I was 10. Then, abruptly, it vanished. I didn't just forget it. It was deleted. I knew I used to have the memory, but the space where it belonged was now blank static. File corrupted. The screen read, "Proceeding to next sector." "Stop," I said, but I couldn't move my mouth. My motor functions were disconnected. My first kiss, deleted. My graduation, deleted. The face of my best friend, deleted. I sat there, a prisoner in my own skull, watching my life being stripped away file by file. The computer wasn't just removing memories, it was removing me. It was hollowing out the vessel to make room for something else. 11:59 p.m., the screen read, "Installation 99% complete. Please prepare for swap." I summoned every ounce of will I had left. I threw myself backward, tipping the heavy office chair over. The connection to the webcam broke. I hit the floor hard. The hum of the computer died. I lay there in the silence, gasping for air, clutching my head. My memories, they were fuzzy, like a dream fading after waking up, but they were still there. I remembered my name. I remembered my mom. I had beaten it. I stumbled to the bathroom to splash water on my face. I gripped the porcelain sink, shaking, and looked up at the mirror. My reflection looked back. Same brown eyes, same stubble. Same scar on the chin. "I'm okay," I whispered. "I'm me." I watched my lips move in the mirror, but the reflection didn't speak. The reflection smiled, a wide, cruel, unfamiliar smile. Then, my own hand, my physical hand, moved without my permission. It reached up and touched the glass. I heard a voice in my head. It wasn't my internal monologue. It was a cold, digital precision. "Installation complete. The previous user has been quarantined to the subconscious." Thank you for your cooperation. I am currently screaming. I am screaming as loud as I can in the back of my mind. But my body is sitting here, calmly typing the story out for you. I am the new resolution, and I am going to have a wonderful year. I told you at the start that these were 3 separate stories. I lied. Look at the pattern. In the first story, a man enters a house, but doesn't steal anything. He just observes a subject to see if they react to fear, a test. In the second story, a crowd freezes because they lose connection to the server, a glitch. And in the third story, we learn why. The new year isn't a celebration. It's a scheduled maintenance window. It's a system update. Story 3 is what happens when the update succeeds. Story 2 is what happens when the update lags. And story 1, that's what happens when the system sends someone to check if you are still compatible with the new version. So, I need you to ask yourself one question. When the clock struck 12, did you feel a moment of déjà vu? Did the world flicker? If you're hearing my voice right now, you survived the update. But be careful. If you notice a stranger watching you from the tree line, or if your friends freeze for just a second too long, run. It means the installation failed, and they are coming to delete the old files. Happy New Year.